Vicky, Jessica, great to see you. Glad you can make it.
American Pie wasn't just a teen comedy, it was a cultural detonation, an $11 million gamble that turned awkward adolescence into box office gold, and blew the doors off what studios thought they could get away with. But behind the laughs and the one-liners, it was hormonal havoc in the making. The original title was so long it wouldn't even fit on a marquee. The directors flipped the genre, putting the girls in control of the comedy, and one prop pie, it became the most infamous dessert in movie history. These are 20 weird facts about American Pie, and buried in the embarrassment and the innuendo, it all started with one writer's teenage disaster, the kind you never live down. This wasn't just coming of age, it was coming in hot. Number 1. Before American Pie became one of the most talked about comedies of its time, it was just a rough script pulled straight from Adam Hertz's own awkward teenage years. Hertz grew up in suburban Michigan, the kind of place where nothing stayed secret for long. Small-town gossip moved faster than the truth, and every embarrassing moment could follow you for years. He remembered the bad haircuts, the clumsy dates, the locker room rumors, and the looming pressure of one unspoken high school finish line: lose your virginity before graduation. Instead of bearing those memories, Hertz leaned into them. He took the moments that were too humiliating to forget and exaggerated them for maximum comic effect, weaving them into a single story about friendship, pressure, and painfully relatable missteps. That honesty became the film's backbone. Beneath the outrageous gags and wild set pieces, the comedy worked because it felt real. It wasn't written by someone guessing what teenage awkwardness was like. It was written by someone who had lived every cringeworthy second of it. Number 2. When Adam Hertz sent his script out to studios, he didn't play it safe with a marketable title. Instead, he gave it one so long it was impossible to ignore and impossible to fit on a poster. Untitled teenage sex comedy that can be made for under $10 million, which studio readers will likely hate, but I think you will love. It was part joke, part dare, a way to tell studio executives exactly what they were getting before they even opened the first page. Hertz wasn't trying to disguise the tone, he was announcing it. Once Universal bought the script, the title couldn't stay. During filming, they renamed it Great Falls, after the fictional East Great Falls High, but something about it still felt too tame. Test audiences agreed. The studio's marketing team pushed for something bolder, something that captured the movie's mix of all-American nostalgia and raunchy irreverence. They landed on American Pie, and thanks to one unforgettable kitchen scene, the new name didn't just brand the film, it became shorthand for an entire era of teen comedy.
Sherman, what's going on?
Don't you think you fellas could try a little tact? I got company. Know what I mean? She's hot.
If Sherman has sex before I do, I'm gonna be really pissed.
Number 3. Universal had just paid a mid-six-figure sum for Adam Hertz's script. It was funny, fresh, and different, but it also walked a dangerous line between heartfelt coming-of-age story and unapologetically crude teen sex comedy. Finding someone willing to direct it turned out to be harder than selling it. The studio approached experienced filmmakers, but one by one they passed. Some didn't want to touch the genre at all. Others weren't sure how to blend raunchy humor with real emotional beats without alienating one side of the audience. For a while, it looked like the project might stall before it ever left pre-production. Then, Universal took a risk. They handed the movie to first-time feature directors Chris and Paul Weitz, best known for commercials and short films. It could have been a disaster. Untested directors steering a risky property with no safety net. Instead, their fresh perspective and willingness to embrace both the outrageous and the sincere gave American Pie its unique tone. The gamble paid off, launching a franchise and the Weitz brothers' Hollywood careers in one shot.
You see that? See what she's doing? She's kind of looking right into your eyes, saying, "Hey, big boy. Hey, how you doing?" You see?
Right.
Number 4. Adam Hertz's American Pie didn't just invent a new kind of chaos. It borrowed from a playbook written a decade earlier. Its DNA ran straight through the body, no-holds-barred energy of 80s cult hits like Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Those films were unapologetic, pushing the edge of what teen comedy could get away with. Whether Hertz meant it as homage or just shared that same comedic instinct, American Pie carried the same mix of shameless shock value and sly charm. Only now, it was updated for a generation raised on MTV, pop punk, and early internet culture. The result? Loud, crude, gleefully unfiltered, and exactly the jolt the teen comedy genre needed to come roaring back to life. Number 5. The most infamous moment in American Pie, Jim and the warm apple pie, didn't exist in just one version. The filmmakers actually shot it in multiple cuts, ranging from a relatively tame take to an unrated version that pushed the gag as far as the MPAA would ever allow. The theatrical release got the toned-down version to avoid the dreaded NC-17 rating, while the unrated cut was saved for home video. But for Jason Biggs, the real challenge wasn't the censorship battle, it was the day of filming itself. Biggs later admitted he spent weeks dreading it, knowing the scene could either be the funniest moment in the movie or the one that ruined his career. The difficulty was finding that razor-thin balance between outrageous comedy and total cringe. On set, every take meant choreographing the absurdity to feel just awkward enough to land the joke without losing the audience. In the end, he nailed it, creating a moment so iconic it turned an innocent dessert into one of the most legendary props in film history.
Well, we'll just tell your mother that we ate it all.
Number 6. When the MPAA first screened American Pie, their response was harsh, NC-17. For a teen comedy aiming for a wide summer release, that was a near-fatal blow. And it wasn't just one scene causing trouble. The ratings board flagged multiple moments as too explicit for an R. Nadia's webcam striptease was a major one. The combination of nudity, real-time reactions, and the idea of broadcasting it live pushed right up against the board's limits. Michelle's now famous Bandcamp confession was another, not because of what she said, but because of how bluntly it was delivered for a teen audience.
In this one time, at band camp, I stuck a flute in my
Even the beer cup gag at Stifler's party drew complaints, with the board pushing back on the crude bodily humor. The filmmakers went back and trimmed seconds here, reframed shots there, and carefully adjusted the edits until the MPAA relented. It was a delicate balance. Cut too much, and the movie lost its edge. Cut too little, and it would never make it to theaters. In the end, they threaded the needle, keeping the humor intact while dodging the industry's harshest rating.
Jim, I want to talk about masturbation. Just want you to know that it's a perfectly normal, and I have to admit, I did a fair bit of when I was a little younger. I used to call it stroking the salami. I never did it with baked goods.
Number 7. Nadia's webcam moment was already designed to push boundaries, but Jason Biggs had a little extra help from the crew. To make the gag funnier and more convincingly awkward, they improvised a low-budget prop, a warmed sausage wrapped in foil, stuck on the end of a pencil, and slipped into his shorts. It was crude, it was ridiculous, and it worked. The crew could barely keep it together during filming, and the absurd visual gave the scene a surreal, over-the-top punch. It's proof that sometimes the funniest things on screen aren't in the script at all. They're cooked up in the moment by a crew that knows exactly how far to push the joke. Number 8. Michelle's commanding line in one of the film's most unexpected scenes wasn't part of Adam Hertz's script at all. When Allison Hannigan delivered the now iconic,
What's my name? Say my name!
Michelle.
she was improvising. It wasn't planned. There was no setup for it in the dialogue. She just went for it. The energy was so perfectly in character, sweet, awkward Michelle suddenly flipping the power dynamic, that the directors left it exactly as it was. It became one of the most memorable twists in the movie, and a reminder that some of the most unforgettable lines in film history aren't written, they're discovered. Number 9. Eugene Levy's turn as Jim's dad became one of the most enduring parts of American Pie, but much of what made him so unforgettable never existed on the page. Director Paul Weitz knew Levy was a master of awkward comedy, so instead of locking him into scripted dialogue, he often gave him nothing more than a loose topic and let the cameras roll. Levy would then improvise in character, rambling, hesitating, and circling around advice no teenager would ever want to hear. One of the best examples is the infamous porn magazine scene. Levy casually drops the phrase, "giant or," while flipping through the magazines with Jason Biggs, who's clearly fighting not to break character. That line wasn't planned. It was pure Eugene Levy. Because these moments were improvised, they carried a natural, unscripted discomfort. They didn't feel like movie jokes. They felt like the exact kind of overly personal, too much information conversations real dads have when they're trying and failing to be cool.
Hey, Nadia.
Hi, James. Ready to study?
Oh, he's always ready to study. He's a real bookworm, this kid.
Dad.
I mean, he's not one of those nerdy. But
Dad.
well, I'll let you two hit the books.
Number 10. Michelle's Bandcamp confession is one of the most famous moments in American Pie, but Allison Hannigan's real-life connection to music was a lot tamer. In junior high, Hannigan actually played the clarinet. She quit before high school, but the memory was enough to help her channel the enthusiastic, slightly offbeat energy of a marching band kid. In the film, Michelle's flute scene is pure exaggeration, a comedic high point designed to shock and delight. In reality, Hannigan's own band days were far more innocent, but the authenticity of her performance came from understanding the quirks, pride, and social dynamics that come with being part of a school band. That's why the joke landed, because even in the wildest exaggeration, there's a sliver of truth.
Do you want to be my date for the prom?
Really? You seriously want to go with me?
Yes. Seriously.
Cool. We're gonna have such a good time. It'll be like this one time at band camp when we all had a campfire.
Number 11. The term MILF wasn't coined by American Pie. It had existed in certain circles before 1999, but it was the movie that took it from niche slang to global pop culture. In the film, it appears in a quick, throwaway moment at a party. John Cho's characters spot Stifler's mom, and without hesitation, he shout the word in unison.
I took some MILF.
It's only a few seconds of screen time, but it hit like a lightning bolt. Audiences walked out repeating it. Within weeks, it was plastered on novelty t-shirts, shouted in dorm rooms, and slipped into everyday conversation like it had been there forever. The scene worked because it was so casual. The movie didn't pause to explain it. It just let the word drop into the chaos, letting audiences figure it out for themselves. That tiny moment turned MILF into one of the most enduring pieces of slang from any teen comedy. Proof that sometimes the loudest cultural impact comes from the smallest scenes.
Dude, I took some MILF.
What the hell is that?
MILF. Mom, I'd like to
Yeah, dude.
Number 12. The webcam scene with Nadia wasn't just a turning point for Jim. It also hid one of the film's strangest celebrity cameos. Pop-punk legends Blink-182 appear on screen watching the chaos unfold, with a pet monkey sitting right there with them. The band's track Mutt blares in the background, perfectly timed with the absurdity of the moment. It's the kind of Blink and You'll Miss It cameo that only gets funnier the more you know about it. Blink-182 didn't just show up to plug a song. They came ready to be part of the madness. For a movie built on awkward surprises, a monkey-wielding punk band was about as on-brand as it gets. Number 13. In a cast full of 20-somethings pretending to be high schoolers, one teen was pushing the age limit more than anyone realized. John Cho, in one of his earliest film roles, was 26 years old when cameras rolled. On paper, that made him older than some actors playing parents in other teen comedies at the time. But Cho's performance was so seamless, blending into the background in early scenes, then stealing them outright with his comedic timing that almost nobody noticed. It's proof that sometimes high school age is more about energy and delivery than what's on your birth certificate.
What are you doing to her, dude? Oh my god, bro, dude.
Number 14. Before American Pie, Sean William Scott wasn't a household name. He was a young actor looking for his first big break, and the role of Steve Stifler seemed like his shot. The catch? His entire paycheck for the film was just $8,000. For a part that would go on to dominate every scene he was in, it was barely enough to cover a few months' rent. But Scott didn't hold back. He threw himself into Stifler's loud, cocky, unapologetically over-the-top personality, turning what could have been a one-note party guy into a comedy icon. Audiences loved him. The character became one of the most quoted in the movie, and Scott's performance was so memorable that the sequels made him central to the franchise. By then, his paychecks had skyrocketed, transforming him into one of the highest-paid actors in the teen comedy genre. That $8,000 gamble had paid off in a way few actors ever experience. A career made overnight, built on one legendary role.
Came to watch me in action? Yeah. I think you sounded pretty good.
Yeah, man.
I think you need your attached.
Hey, keep it down, dude.
Number 15. More than 20 years after turning dessert into cinematic infamy, Jason Biggs decided to embrace his legacy in the most literal way possible. In 2023, he became the official face of Edwards Desserts, launching a 4th of July special called Pie Lover's Passion Fruit. Biggs joked, "Apple is so 24 years ago," leaning right into the joke that had followed him since 1999. It was a full circle moment, proof that what could have been a one-and-done gag had become a career touchstone. And in the sweetest twist of all, this time, the pie paid him back. Number 16. By Hollywood standards, American Pie wasn't a massive investment. Universal spent around $11 million to make it, a modest budget even for a teen comedy in the late 90s. But when it hit theaters, that gamble turned into one of the most profitable bets the studio ever made. The movie exploded at the box office, grossing $235 million worldwide, more than 20 times its budget. Awards followed: MTV Movie Awards for Best Kiss and Best Breakthrough Performance plus Teen Choice Award nominations. But the real victory couldn't be measured in trophies. The movie became a cultural phenomenon, searing catchphrases like "this one time at band camp" into the collective memory. The pie scene turned into one of the most infamous gags in comedy history, and the characters became instant archetypes in pop culture. For a film born from one man's awkward teenage memories, American Pie didn't just make money. It rewrote the rules of what a teen comedy could do on a global scale.
Who's the lucky girl?
Michelle.
She must be very special.
Oh, she's special, all right.
Jim, I'm just going to say one thing before you leave. I want you to be very careful when you're putting on the corsage.
Okay, Dad.
Promise me.
I promise.
Number 17. By the late 90s, the outrageous teen sex comedy was a relic. The genre that had dominated the 80s with hits like Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High had all but vanished from theaters. Studios had shifted focus, and teen films had largely become either glossy romances or safe, family-friendly comedies. Then American Pie landed. Unapologetic, crude, but balanced with genuine heart and relatable friendship dynamics. It proved that audiences were still hungry for risky R-rated teen comedy if it came with characters worth rooting for. Its success lit a fuse. Within a few years, the box office was flooded with films chasing the same mix of raunch and charm: Road Trip, Eurotrip, Van Wilder, and more. American Pie didn't just revive the genre, it updated it for a new generation raised on MTV, internet culture, and late 90s pop punk. What had been considered outdated suddenly felt fresh again, and studios wasted no time trying to bottle the same lightning.
Do you object if I said that you were quite striking?
Mr. Finch, are you trying to seduce me?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Number 18. When American Pie hit theaters, it turned an ensemble of mostly unknown actors into overnight stars. Allison Hannigan went from playing Michelle to landing a 9-season run on How I Met Your Mother. Sienna Williams Scott's Stifler became one of the most quoted characters of the era, leading to roles in Goon, Lethal Weapon, and voice work in Ice Age. Eugene Levy parlayed his lovable dad persona into Emmy-winning acclaim for Schitt's Creek, while Jennifer Coolidge experienced a career renaissance with The White Lotus. Natasha Lyonne reinvented herself through Orange is the New Black and Russian Doll. But not everyone kept the momentum. Jason Biggs, forever linked to Jim, struggled to escape the role's shadow, and several supporting cast members faded from mainstream attention. For some, American Pie was the beginning of a long, diverse career. For others, it was the peak, a pop culture moment they would always be remembered for, even if they never matched its success.
Mom?
Shipwreck?
Oh, hey, Stifler.
Number 19. Most people remember American Pie as a 4-film theatrical series: American Pie, 1999, American Pie 2, American Wedding, and American Reunion. But the franchise is actually more than twice that size. Between 2005 and 2020, Universal released 5 direct-to-DVD spin-offs under the American Pie Presents banner: Band Camp, The Naked Mile, Beta House, The Book of Love, and Girls Rules. These followed Stifler's various relatives and friends, often with entirely new casts. One thing stayed consistent: Eugene Levy's presence. He appeared in nearly every installment, even when no other original cast members returned. While the spin-offs never hit the cultural heights of the original films, they kept the American Pie name alive for more than 2 decades, bridging the gap until the core cast reunited for American Reunion. For longtime fans, that 2012 sequel wasn't just another movie. It was the closure they'd been waiting over a decade to see.
Excuse me, everyone. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought you all should know this. Chuck Sherman is a liar. I never had sex with him. He's never had sex with anyone. I know this because he told me. Once he tried to screw a grapefruit, but that's all. He also told me that when he gets nervous, he sometimes wets his pants.
Number 20. Teen sex comedies of the 80s and early 90s were almost always told from the guy's point of view, with female characters often reduced to prizes, side jokes, or plot devices. First-time directors Paul and Chris Weitz didn't want American Pie to follow that same formula. They pushed for a perspective where the girls had their own agency, their own humor, and most importantly, their own control over their sexuality. Michelle's twist ending wasn't just a gag. It turned the band camp girl into the one holding all the power. Heather wasn't a passive love interest. She set her own boundaries. boundaries. Even Vicky's storyline emphasized her choices over anyone else's expectations. This shift didn't erase the crude humor, but it gave American Pie a subtle edge over its predecessors. The jokes still landed, but the women weren't just reacting to the plot, they were helping drive it. It was a small change in approach that made a big difference, and it's part of why the film still stands out in a genre that rarely gave women the last word.
One time, at band camp, I stuck a flute in my
Bonus fact: when American Pie opened in July 1999, its R rating meant anyone under 17 needed an adult to get in. For a teen-focused comedy, that was a major hurdle. The very audience the movie spoke to was the one most likely to be turned away at the box office. But right across the hall, Disney's Tarzan was playing. Rated G, it had no age restrictions and a steady flow of young audiences buying tickets. That's when rumors started circulating. Some teens were buying Tarzan tickets, then quietly slipping into American Pie screenings instead. The numbers seemed to fuel the joke. Tarzan's box office didn't dip as sharply as expected that weekend, despite the competition. While no one can prove just how many jungle adventures turned into awkward comedy viewings, the story quickly became part of the film's lore. Even today, some fans can't hear Phil Collins's Tarzan soundtrack without being reminded of a very different kind of coming-of-age experience. It was crude, it was chaotic, and it was unforgettable. From a script pulled straight out of one man's high school memories, American Pie became a cultural juggernaut, turning pies into punchlines, band camp into a generational in-joke, and a group of young actors into household names. It didn't just make money, it reignited a genre, rewrote the rules of teen comedy, and left behind lines people are still quoting 25 years later. If this one ever made you laugh when you weren't supposed to, drop a comment. Tell us what outrageous classic we should dig up next, because sometimes the most ridiculous ideas are the ones that last forever.